This has the potential to solve one of the most important problems that we've got now facing humanity. So what happens with regular chemical monoculture is you grow sick plants producing sick food that creates sick people. And we want to reverse this. You're going to be spending half your time working with GoldSilver and the media team at Hidden Secrets of Money. The other half of the time is going to be trying to push my other projects forward. If you're good enough and committed enough, you could own a piece of this so that you become more of a partner. For nearly 2 decades now, I've had 2 missions in life, and now there is a third, and I want to tell you about it. First, a quick review. The GoldSilver.com mission is to save the middle class, defend freedom, and prevent the rise of socialism simply by getting gold and silver into the hands of the public before a devastating economic crisis. We'll come back to that later because it sounds a little bit silly, but it's true, actually. The next one is Hidden Secrets of Money, which is to enlighten the world that maximum prosperity can only be achieved through individual freedom, free markets, and sound money. And, this is a fact. We'll come back to that later. The new one is Freedom Farms. And because everybody knows about the gold, silver, and hidden secrets of money, most of this video is going to be about the new mission, Freedom Farms. And then I'm going to do another video taking you on a tour of Freedom Farms. But its mission is to reverse the environmental impact of modern farming and create tastier, healthier food. Now that sounds like the weakest of all of these missions, but it may in fact be the most noble. Now, I want to say that I'm looking for somebody to help me. So, if you want to try to change the world and have a positive impact, then help me with this. I'm looking to hire somebody. I'm looking for somebody that is somewhere between the range of an executive assistant all the way up to business manager or even business partner. And that's not directly with GoldSilver. That's me, and I have a few corporations, and I've got my relationship with GoldSilver and the media team and the marketing team. And so I'm looking for somebody that's a business manager, a project manager, and an executive assistant. Why? Because I have to become more efficient. I've got to accomplish more. I'm getting older. I'm running out of time. And there's a lot that I want to do. If you want to really have a positive impact and hopefully change the world, I'm looking for somebody with a lot of talent. And this is a paid position, a salaried position. So we'll get to that at the end. But I'm looking for somebody that's a very business-oriented person that can manage other people and that I can give things to, and somebody that will also take things off my plate and help keep me focused. Working with Dan Rubach, my executive producer, director, and the media team, which is like the Hidden Secrets of Money /books/ all of and then the marketing team over at GoldSilver that helps push all of this forward, that makes it actually happen so that you see it, you read it, and then I need somebody that's a problem solver, somebody that is a red tape untangler, because this new one, especially Freedom Farms, governments tend to give you encouragement, but then put a barrier in front of you and help and try to keep you from actually accomplishing something that they've encouraged you to try to accomplish. And so I need somebody that can do that, because I don't want to get involved in these things. And you'll see in the upcoming videos how much opportunity there is in all of this. I need somebody that is good at overcoming adversity. If you want to learn how to overcome adversity, become an entrepreneur. Start a business, because that's what you're doing like every day or two. Most of it is solving problems and overcoming adversity. I need somebody self-motivated and very hardworking. This is not going to be easy. Now, some of the attributes that you've got to have is to be bright, creative, and organized. If you are organized, then you will be efficient. I'm not as organized and efficient as I need to be. And so I need to be working with somebody that is highly organized and efficient and keeps me on task so that I can produce more, which affects more people, which does change the world in a very small way. If you're efficient, then you're also systematic, and it drives me nuts when I see somebody that has no system in place when they're trying to accomplish something. So you've got to be systematic, and those systems have to be logical. So you have to be a logical person, and when you do that, then you can be methodical. You've got a system, it's logical, and you can just hack away at this thing and get it. And then, most importantly, somebody that never gives up. You've got to have a high degree of tenacity. Now, the talents that I am looking for is somebody that has, you don't have to be an accountant. I've got 3 CPAs that you would be working with, but I have just a basic understanding of accounting, and I need somebody that has a little bit more of an understanding than I do to help give me, work with my CPAs and give me reports on where we stand. And with the farm, this becomes very important. Knowing, I don't get a report from my CPA. There's investment now in rehabilitating all of the structures that got destroyed in Hurricane Maria. That's the reason I was able to pick up this property for a song, basically. And I need that separated from what we are in investment in the actual production and agriculture that is going to be taking place. And then we will be having some cash flowing in and out. At first it operates at a loss, but my goal is to get this. You'll see that this is a very noble mission, and the place that I bought is probably the only place in the world where this mission can be accomplished and be self-funding instead of having to work off of grants and things like that. And I'll show you why in a little while. This is actually very exciting. You have to be tech savvy, or you don't have to be. I'm looking for somebody with a majority. Nobody's going to have all of these attributes and be great at all of them, these talents. But I'm looking for a majority of this list of talents. Somebody that's super great at half of them is better than somebody that's mediocre at all of them. And I'll just find another person to work with you. But tech savvy, as far as the ability to solve email problems, computer problems, and then manage a website build and things like that. Spreadsheets, the accounting. If you can do spreadsheets and give me back, I'm a very visual person. I'm not good at looking at tables of data because I'm dyslexic. If you can put it into a chart, I can understand it. And so my spreadsheet guru / chart guy, Alan Hibbard, he's going to be working with me in the future, but I really did burn him out on making charts for me, because for 4 years, a little over 4 years, I was having him update charts and redo charts and putting it in a different format. So probably every chart, only maybe a quarter of it, less than that, 20% of the charts that we created ended up in the book. And then on top of that, I would have him redo the charts periodically or change their format, so every chart had like 5 different versions of it. So I really did burn him out on that. But if you have any understanding of publishing, that would also be important. The books, especially, I saw problems with the publishers that I was using. So I decided to self-publish on this last book, and it used an immense amount of my time with the problems that I had with Amazon. We've signed up with a company called Publish Drive, and we'll be able to distribute the book so it'll be available everywhere that books are sold. But you have to manage this, and I have to get all of the books stickered on the back with a new ISBN number, and then we can launch the audiobook, the ebook, and the black and white version of the book, and eventually this book that is currently a big loss will become profitable. And it's your job to do that. So if you have any experience with Amazon selling, or you don't have to have experience, but it's a big back end to their website with a whole lot of interactive pages, reports, and then things where you load in inventory, or all of the text that's on these. Amazon owns the sales page. It's not my page, but I'm the one that created all the text for that page. And so if you have any experience at managing that, because if you make a mistake, it is almost impossible to correct that mistake with Amazon. You end up paying for it forever. So it takes studying this very carefully and then taking action, but being very careful with the actions that you take. If you have any understanding of agriculture, I am not looking for somebody that is basically a farmer that understands crops and soil. Because I've got one of those. My farm manager, Nicholas Spazov, is a permaculture expert, and he is the one that is managing that part of the farm. But the business end of the farm, all of the accounting and the expenditures and projections, and so that, or the distribution portion. Once you've produced some food, some produce, where do you sell it? What is the distribution? How do you get that into stores and so on? Then there's, I need somebody that can either write a business plan or work with somebody that will write a business plan for us. You can manage it, but I don't have a business plan, which takes spreadsheets and projections, and a good business plan is a whole lot of work. And it's not my forte. And I want to focus on only the things that I do well. I need somebody that will take everything off of my plate. And I have the big picture overview, which I'm going to show you for the farm and the new mission that I've got. As I said, you're going to be spending half your time working with GoldSilver and the media team at Hidden Secrets of Money. But the other half of the time is going to be trying to push my other projects forward. I do not want to get involved in these. I've only spent 5 days this entire year up at my ranch. I have a ranch manager, but he's not a business person. And so I need a business person that is going to help do this and help change the world. And I'll show you in a minute that this has the potential to solve one of the most important problems that we've got now facing humanity. And then this is very important, but it's not a deal breaker. Spanish, English, bilingual. Now, you're going to have to, if you don't live in Puerto Rico, you're going to have to live here most of the time. And you can work remotely, and I do have accommodations for you up on the ranch. We've got housing. Down here in San Juan, rents are very cheap and real estate is very cheap. But I'm going to show you that the food is more expensive. So the biggest thing, though, is a need to make a positive impact on the world and change everybody's lives for the better. So just recapping, the mission for GoldSilver.com is to save the middle class, defend freedom, and prevent the rise of socialism simply by getting gold and silver into the hands of the public before a devastating economic crisis. Now, this sounds a little hokey. how can getting gold and silver into the hands of the public prevent the rise of socialism? That sounds, if I was looking at that for the first time, I'd go, man, this guy's a nut. Well, you know what? When I was doing the research for my first book, I started shortly after the NASDAQ crash. So we're talking back in the year 2000 and early 2001. When, there was 9/11 in late 2001 and the recession. But with that NASDAQ crash, I started studying the economy. Why did this happen? And I started studying monetary history. And as I was writing I studied for this book shortly after the NASDAQ crash. So it was about 6.5 years to 2008 when the book was released, to late 2007, early 2008. The writing was actually 3.5 years, from 2005 to 2008. But as I was studying for this book, I started to have this anxiety and trepidation over the economy, because I discovered that financial strife, economic strife, is where the rise of Hitler, Lenin, and Mao all came from. Almost every dictator that there has ever been, almost every time socialism flares its ugly head, and these evil men come forward, it's because a middle class has been impoverished. A society gains a middle class, and they're typically the majority of the population, and they've got something now, and then they lose all of it, whether it's very quickly, like during the Weimar hyperinflation that directly led to the rise of Hitler, or whether it's a little bit more slowly, like under Tsar Nicholas in Russia, that led to the rise of Lenin, or the people following Mao. Political power grows out of the barrel of a gun. Do you want any of this, a rise of somebody evil like this in your future? When I saw, during my lifetime, I have watched this slow chipping away at freedom, and we go more and more toward central planning, a top-down society, and socialism, just a little bit at a time. And we've got a very large middle class, and you've already seen the bifurcation of society, where we've now, according to the Federal Reserve, for every 10 people, one of them owns twice as much wealth as the other 9 people combined. And this bifurcation of society is creating a lot of dissatisfaction. And that is what leads, when suddenly the middle class is impoverished, they are scared, and they will follow anybody that tells them some stupid fairy tale and says, follow me, I know a way out of this. And so that was one of the reasons that I wrote Guide to Investing in Gold and Silver and started GoldSilver.com. So Hidden Secrets of Money, its mission to enlighten the world that maximum prosperity can only be achieved through individual freedom, free markets, and sound money. Now, the reason that I took on this mission is because this is an economic truth. And the more people that love free markets and are willing to support free markets instead of trying to undermine free markets, the more chance we have of the greatest amount of the maximum prosperity, achieving that maximum prosperity. And so this was a mission that I took on, and I do feel like I have made a tiny little dent. I think out of our channel has 112 million views on it, and more than a third of those is the Hidden Secrets of Money series. And so if you come with me, you're going to be working with Dan Rubach and myself and others to push this agenda forward. But as I said, so one of the things that you're going to be doing is managing the books and working with Dan. So you're going to help manage the video channel, and you'll be coordinating the release with our media team at GoldSilver.com. where all the emails come out from, and the website. So you're going to be a liaison between all of these things, but you're also going to manage the book. Both books, but the second book has taken an extraordinary amount of my time this year, and I cannot allow that anymore. It's got to be somebody else's problem. The salary that I'm going to show at the end here is a base salary, and if you can turn these things profitable, this is performance-based, and so you can make a whole lot more than what I'm going to be paying. So Freedom Farms, this mission is to reverse the environmental impact of farming and while creating healthier, tastier food. Now, I'm going to split these into the two pieces. The environmental impact of farming. What is the environmental impact of modern farming techniques? According to the EPA, agriculture is responsible for 9% of all greenhouse gas emissions. Now, that is the actual agriculture, the growing of these chemical monoculture crops, and then the tilling of the soil and the loss of topsoil. This is all part of that. However, I've heard estimates up to 18%, and that's because there's farm hands and the people that live on the farm. So you got to take a little bit of this commercial and residential, and you've got to move it into that category. And then there's no such thing as a Campbell's soup plant. And so there's all the food that's grown here, most of it has to be processed in some way. And there's no Wonder Bread tree. And so you have to take a sliver of this 22% that is industry and put it into agriculture. And then all of these use electricity, and so you got to take a sliver of that and put it into agriculture, and then you got to get the food to market, so you got to take a sliver of this 29% transportation and put it in there. But anyway, it could be up to 18% of the greenhouse gas emissions. That range, 9% is the minimum, 18% is the maximum, but this should be carbon negative, and it could be. This could be sequestering atmospheric carbon dioxide. How? We'll go into that. There is a two-part strategy here. So part one is to heal the body through a never-ending quest to improve both the flavor and nutrition of food with constant analysis by tasting, testing, selecting, breeding, improving, and repeating. And so did you know that cabbage, Brussels sprouts, kohlrabi, kale, broccoli, and cauliflower are all descended from wild mustard? And it was humans that did this. We took wild mustard and we turned it into all of these plants. No, you didn't know that? Well, guess what? Neither did I. I think this is amazing. I mean, you can see that cabbage and Brussels sprouts are related. You can see that broccoli and cauliflower are related. But I had no idea that kale was related to cabbage or Brussels sprouts, or that kale was related to broccoli. They just seemed so different than each other, but it's humans selecting for the leaf or the bud or the stem or whatever, and breeding these plants. And I have a feeling that nutrition is also connected to flavor. And we've spent food has changed immensely over my lifetime. Tomatoes used to be so flavorful, and now it's a red bag of water. And what they've done is they've made tomatoes, they've bred them for survivability in transit, so that they don't have a lot of food that gets thrown away at the supermarket, so they don't want them to bruise. So we now pick them green, we gas ripen them with ethylene gas at their destination. And so it's a green tomato that gets turned red, but it's still not a ripe tomato with the nutrition that should be in it, or the flavor. It's flavorless. We've done this over the past 50 years, and so now we need to do this constant tasting and then scientifically analyze what is in that thing, and then select the best ones and breed them, improve them, and keep repeating the process. Part 2 is to heal the planet by developing organic, regenerative, atmospheric, carbon negative permaculture farming techniques that are lower in cost and therefore higher in profit, which will cause worldwide adoption of these practices. I'll tell you more about permaculture later, but currently it's a little bit more expensive than chemical monoculture. But the chemicals have risen so high recently that they're very close. Permaculture is more labor intensive, but this is healthy, tasty food that can actually change the planet. So, permaculture. Here are a couple of examples of permaculture, and you'll notice that the rows are mixed. And here in this example, you've got a small patch of what looks to be lettuce, followed by a small patch of, I am not sure what that is, spinach. I don't know what this is, but there's onions in here, or garlic. And so what you're doing here is you're confusing the pests. What you want a lot of bugs, but you want a balanced variety of insects. If you plant 100 or 1,000 acres of one crop, lettuce or corn or whatever it is, wheat, what you get is one pest or two pests that thrive on that crop, and they propagate they proliferate, and they overwhelm that crop, and now you have to use the chemical pesticides, and then also it will be disturbing the balance of the soil. You can plant carbon fixing plants right next to, you can plant nitrogen fixing plants right next to plants that draw nitrogen out of the soil, and the soil will remain balanced. One of the things you do not want to do is disturb the soil. Basically, for every plant, somewhere between 50 to 70% of that plant grows below ground, and the other 30 to 50% grows above ground. And when that plant is alive, it's breathing in carbon dioxide, and through photosynthesis, it's splitting off the oxygen atom and exhaling the oxygen, and it's taking those carbon atoms and mixing them with the water and minerals from the dirt that is below the topsoil and organic matter that it pulls out of the topsoil, because dirt is a mixture of dirt is just the minerals, the rock, clay, whatever it is that's below the soil. Soil is a mixture of organic material and the dirt, and so it's using all of those to build all of the complex carbohydrates that are the energy that the plant uses and that we use, and the cell structure of the plant, and all of that, when it dies, remains below ground, sequestering atmospheric carbon dioxide. But then we go through and we till the soil, and we cut all those roots, expose them to the atmosphere, and all that carbon dioxide bleeds off into the atmosphere. Permaculture doesn't disturb the soil. You poke a hole in the soil and you put a plant in, but you never, ever till. And then you do something called chop and drop. After you've done your harvest, you cut all the plants down and you leave them there as a mulch, and part of it decays into the soil and sequesters even more carbon dioxide. But varying the crop like this with these different rows of different plants, like I said, it confuses the insects, no need for herbicides, and then it also eliminates the need for your weed control is much easier when you've got these mixed crops than it is with a monoculture crop, so that you don't need the herbicides that basically kill everything, except they kill a bunch of the microbes in the soil too that you need for proper nutrition. So what happens with regular chemical monoculture is you grow sick plants producing sick food that creates sick people. And we want to reverse this. So this part heals the planet, but the result is it heals the body. So you've seen the mission, the big goal that we're trying to achieve. You've seen the strategy, the overarching how we're going to do this. And then the tactic is the steps that are involved, the actual actions you're going to take. So this is to combine a green-powered organic permaculture farm with the brightest minds that we can find to help solve these problems. To the greatest extent possible, the farm will use only electric vehicles and equipment powered by solar, wind, and hydroelectric. And, I'll show you this, but I'm already on the path to this. We've already got about 100 solar panels and 9 Tesla Powerwalls installed right now. And so back in January of 2021, 33 months ago, I ordered a couple of Monarch electric tractors. So this is an electric tractor that has immense amounts of torque. It's got a power takeoff on the back so it can operate farm equipment that you tow behind it, like, for instance, a sprayer, but we're not going to be spraying pesticides. We'll be spraying compost tea. It can operate things like, you can put a little backhoe on it, a digger, and be able to use it like that. But the canopy that's above this thing has a bunch of instrumentation in it. It is self-driving. So this thing can do repetitive tasks. You can teach it, like those rows between these crops. This looks like a grape. This is for wine, I believe. It's a grapevines. Those rows need to be mowed. And you can put a industrial mower on the back of this thing, and it'll just go out in the morning and mow all the rows for you and come back on its own. And while it's doing that, it's got sensors that are measuring the moisture in the soil, and I believe the soil pH, but I'm not sure on that one. I'll have to check back on that. And then it gives you a map of your farm's soil health. You know exactly what to do and how to respond. So these are amazing devices. I have 2 of them on order. They were supposed to come out in like 6 months or something. It's been 33 months. They are starting to deliver them now, but I don't want some of the first ones. I'm going to be bringing them to Puerto Rico where there's no dealer to fix them. And so I want to wait like a year before I take delivery of mine because I just want any bugs taken out of them and then improvements made before I take my delivery. And then in March of 22, so 17 months ago, I ordered a Polaris Ranger XP Kinetic. Now, they're having a lot of trouble making these. Elon Musk said, prototypes are easy, production is hard. And electric vehicles are not like making an internal combustion vehicle where we have a lot of experience. Polaris is a big company that makes snowmobiles. They make a whole bunch of different side-by-sides like this, XUVs. They make a little sports car trike, basically, a 3-wheeler with 1 wheel in the back for road use. They make a lot of different vehicles. They have dealers all around the world. It's a big company. And yet this project, where they're using the expertise of Zero Motorcycles, who's been making phenomenal electric motorcycles for many years now, more than a decade, they're using some of their technology and help, but they're having trouble making these. They're currently sold out. They have made a few of them. I'm expecting mine any day now, but it is quite late. I was supposed to get it in May of last year. But this vehicle, we have a little XUV made by John Deere. It can seat 4 to 6 people in it, and it's got 18 horsepower, but it can go up any hill, no matter how steep. It can go through the deepest mud, the deepest sand. It just takes us everywhere. You drive through jungle on the property, and the greenery is just like falling down 3 feet. The hood is only like 3 feet from your eyes. And so you've got greenery just falling down 3 feet in front of you. And anyway, that one can do with 18 horsepower what we thought was like impossible. These have 110 horsepower and 140 foot-pounds of torque. And so this is a serious work vehicle. that can haul a 2,500 pound trailer, and it can haul 1,250 pounds in its bed. And so it's got this little bed on the back that has a tilt like a dump truck function. So you can fill that full of gravel, and you can haul. These are serious work vehicles that are all going to be charged from our solar panels and battery packs, and so they will be burning sunlight. And then I've got a couple of Cybertrucks on order. The one that's for me will be the quad motor that'll do 0 to, the tri-motor that I ordered. They didn't have a quad motor available when I placed my order. The third day after Tesla did the unveil and premiered this and started taking orders, I ordered mine, and I am like number 200,000th in line on the third day. I hated it the first day. I started to warm to it on the second day, and on the third day I go, I'm ordering one of these. Well, this is an amazing vehicle that has the smartest. Teslas have the smartest traction control of any car there is. It readjusts 100 times a second, and it's quad motor, and it's got four-wheel steering. So the front wheels go one way and the rear wheels go the other, and it can turn in a much tighter circle. It can go very, very close to like a tree or something like that while it's making its turn. Now, I have an orange grove. I've got about 900 orange trees. And one of the things that we can do with something like this truck, it's stainless steel. It doesn't matter if a bunch of branches scrape on the sides of it. I won't care. It's a badge of honor. Two people can stand in the back of this truck and be picking oranges out of the trees and dumping them into bins. So this actually will be, I'm going to order, mine will be the quad motor. The dual motor, long range will be the farm vehicle. But Dan has one on order, and so does my farm manager, Nicholas. So there will be 4 of these up on the farm, 1 or 2 of them being used for constant farming purposes. These can tow an immense amount, so they can tow farm-type equipment to trim things and so on. And it's got a 220 outlet on it and a huge battery pack. So that means it can run an arc welder or electric trimmers or chainsaws anywhere on the property. And so the property is going to be quiet and pollution-free, and I'll show you some of the benefits that this has. Here is a typical farm, the pollution that is created. All of the chemical fertilizers, pesticides, and herbicides have to be made somewhere. And so they're manufactured using a lot of electricity, petrochemicals, and fossil fuel power. And so we're eliminating that. The houses on the farm and the houses that the workers live in and so on take electricity from the grid that is produced by, mostly by fossil fuels, and then some nuclear, hydroelectric, increasingly solar and so on. But that's a small percentage. So we're eliminating that on the farm, and we're eliminating burning fossil fuel combustion on the farm. So what we've taken this down to, you can take this dotted line and move it all the way to the middle of this graph. Now, we're not going to be doing a whole lot of animal production. You need animals, a certain amount of them, to do permaculture properly. There's a balance that you have to strike. But if you do feedlots, this manure storage, there's pollution that is created. Now, we can sequester most of this. Nitrogen-fixing plants take nitrogen out of the air. And then CO2, which is the main component of farm emissions, we can turn that very, very negative. And so moving on, permaculture is this balance of encouraging some of the pests, but a balanced amount of the pests with the beneficial animals. And then we need to make sure that we've got a lot of the right fungus and bacteria and all of the other things in the soil that are required for this healthy, natural environment. So you give up a little to get a lot. And one of the things, it isn't a little, because you give up pesticides and herbicides, which is a biggie for humanity. So because of its location in Puerto Rico here, and where my farm is located, this is one of the only places in the world where you could take on a mission like this, because permaculture is more expensive. So it's not being done anywhere on a really large scale. And we're trying to bring this to very large scale farming. And you can't do that unless it can be self-funding. Otherwise, you got to be doing it on grants and stuff, charity. And I've created a place where a mission like this can be taken on and it can be self-funding. And here are the reasons why. Because of its location, it has the purest air and water available at these latitudes. I mean, you might be able to go to Guam or Easter Island or something like that out in the middle of the Pacific and find a air and water that's pure. But any pollutants that come to Puerto Rico are coming from North Africa, which has a very low population in the first place. They get precipitated out on the 6,000-mile journey across the Atlantic, and then water is evaporated, and that falls in rain. It comes onto the island. It's almost always a south-southeast breeze onto this island, and on that side of the island, there's a very, very low population density. It's mostly farms and small communities, and there's one lightly trafficked 4-lane highway. And so we truly do have some of the purest air and water. Now, 85% of all of Puerto Rico's food that it consumes is imported, and it goes through this ancient discriminatory law called the Jones Act, causing all of the imported food to be 20 to 30% higher than mainland USA. The food here is very expensive. Rents and real estate and other items, health insurance, automobile insurance, it's all cheap by comparison to the mainland. And so your actual cost of living is lower, except food is higher. And that's where we are competing. And because of where my property is located, I'll tell you about that in a minute, we're not going to compete against other Puerto Rican farmers. We're going to compete in this imported market. And so it's like running a race where all of your competitors that are running the race are carrying 20 to 30% of their own body weight. And you're the only one that gets to run this race naturally. And so who's going to win? You are. It's obvious. Nobody could win carrying 20 to 30% of their own body weight. And that is what all of our competitors are tasked with and burdened with if food is coming through the Jones Act, which was established during World War I. And it means that there's only a couple of companies that transport all of the food into Puerto Rico, and they really don't compete with each other. And so they get to make a fortune at the expense of the Puerto Rican population. Because of our farm's high altitude, this is one of the highest large farms in Puerto Rico. It's right up next to the very peak of Puerto Rico, Cerro de Punta. Cerro de Punta is 4,300 feet. The highest point on my property is 3,600 feet. And that means that the climate is 8 to 12 degrees cooler than most of the other farms in Puerto Rico. That allows us to grow different crops and or shift our harvest season so that if we're growing something that is being grown in Puerto Rico by other farmers, they run out of it, and that particular type of food then goes up in price by 20 to 30% because it's being imported currently. It's coming from South America, Mexico, US, or Canada. And so that shifting can make us very profitable. And we can also grow crops like we're experimenting right now. Puerto Rico mostly grows plantains, root crops such as yucca, and coffee. That's the main crops in Puerto Rico. We're not going to touch those unless maybe we can do one of them out of season with everybody else. But we bought a bunch of seeds from Florida that were bred for humidity and heat, and we are growing broccoli, asparagus, cabbage, kale, spinach, just the carrots, beets, this wide variety of things, and we're experimenting right now to find the most flavorful ones that grow really well in our climate up on the farm. But the altitudes are from 2,300 feet up to 3,650 feet. So I have microclimates. I've got different climates on one property. So our competition are not other Puerto Rican farmers. Our competition is Canada, the USA, Mexico, and South America, all of which have to go through the Jones Act. We have a bona fide farmer's certificate and an Act 60. Puerto Rico hands out tax grants and incentives and all of these things sort of willy-nilly. They've got a lot of them. They're all difficult to get, though. There's red tape put in front of them. We spent 2 years with attorneys to get that bona fide farmer's certificate. Most farmers in Puerto Rico just give up. So the vast majority do not have a bona fide farmer's certificate or an Act 60. What does that do for us? Well, we have no sales tax, which is 11% in Puerto Rico, no duties, which can be 14%, and 90% of our farm income is tax exempt. So you couple this with the profit that can be made in this area where your competition is artificially 20 to 30% too high, and this farm can self-fund this experiment of trying to create carbon negative farming and figure out, because it's going to take several years. Farming is a mature technology. We've been doing it for many thousands of years. I think it's 8,000 years. So most of the techniques have already been discovered. We're trying to develop some new techniques in a fully mature technology. And so it's not going to be easy. It's going to take a while. But how can we bring these costs down? Well, there's going to be robotics soon that will be able to help with these mixed crops. And there's a bunch of other things. There's a lot of exciting stuff coming over the next decade. And you can be a part of this. Also, we haven't even finished investigating the carbon credits and all of the other tax incentives and grants. I've put in I've had to make a lot of roads. Most of them are dirt roads, but when I bought the farm, it was destroyed in Hurricane Maria and it had been abandoned since 2006. And so on the roads was 8 to 12 feet of greenery everywhere you went. And so you can get up to, I think, 50% back up to $500,000, something like that. But it requires the right applications. There's hoops that you got to jump through. So I need a professional hoop jumper. Carbon credits. I did a preliminary investigation on this. And I don't know whether the farm will be eligible for $20,000 a year or $200,000 a year of farm credits. But I've got about 500 acres of natural land and 300 acres that we're going to farm and another 100 acres that we're going to rehabilitate. And the farm running off of solar, I don't think they've ever encountered this before. So there has to be some negotiation with the people that create the farm credits, that issue farm credits for the carbon that we are sequestering, and then we sell them on an exchange to the polluters that are then going to buy them. So this is a biggie. Somebody needs to spend some time investigating this and then signing us up with the right people to issue our farm credits, because with all the investment that I have made in solar and will be investing, and probably hydroelectric soon, we need to take as much advantage of that as possible and create a cash flow. So to recap, we've got the purest air and water. There's the Peak of Puerto Rico. There's 2,000 acres of a state park that has no paths or roads on it. There's no humans, no domesticated animals, and no farming. And that forest is where our river comes up from. And then I've got about a mile-long border that borders that state park, and our river comes on and meanders 4.1 miles on this property. And so we are the very first ones to take advantage of this water, and then it goes past farms that are spraying pesticides and herbicides and everything else. And so we're the only ones that get, and by the way, there's an easement on my property. I'm the second owner. The farm has been in business since 1865, and I'm the second owner. And they made an easement and granted an easement to the municipality, and my farm supplies 10,000 homes with water. It's 8 to 12 degrees cooler up there so that we can grow different crops or shift our harvest seasons. Our competition is 20 to 30% higher. There's no sales tax, no duties. 90% of income is tax exempt, and we have yet to sign up for the carbon credits. These are the factors where there's only really one spot in the world where this experiment can be carried out and self-funding, because it can be profitable from day one, where everybody else that is trying to do this either does it on a really small scale and they're selling their crops at farmers markets direct to the public, or they are working off of grants and charity subsidies. So this is the reason that I am so excited about this, is because we can do it. Here's our competition. La Hacienda is a 2-store chain in Puerto Rico that's sort of a healthy, really high quality food chain. Baby spinach, $14 a pound. Shiitake mushrooms, $25 a pound. This is a store that I would like to get into. But there's a bigger health food store on the chain, Fresh Mart, on Puerto Rico, I'm sorry, bigger chain in Puerto Rico. And Fresh Mart has 6 stores. And I have 900 orange trees. Here is Uncle Matt's organic orange juice, 52-ounce bottle, $11 a bottle, basically. On the mainland, at Whole Foods, you can buy these bottles for $7.50. This is 45% higher on a crop I'm already growing. And our orange trees, we aren't certified organic yet, but we will be shortly. We've been working on it, and we will be very shortly certified organic. But now we can print Freedom Farms organic atmospheric carbon negative permaculture orange juice, and then tell the story, put a Puerto Rican flag on here, and people will love supporting their neighbors, basically supporting other Puerto Rico laborers and Puerto Rico businesses, and keeping it local. So we can tell this story of the purest air and water that you can find anywhere, even in Puerto Rico. We've got the purest of the pure. And so I'm going to move on here. What is the big payoff for doing this? Well, the big payoffs, it's not as much financial, but this farm should cash flow for a long period of time. So I'm also, if there's somebody out there, or that either knows somebody or is somebody that has millions of dollars that they would like to put toward something like this, a big project that is going to change the world, I'm willing to take on some partners that have an interest in this. So that is a possibility. That's not the reason for this video. This video is to get somebody to manage all of these different aspects of my life. So the big payoffs are tastier food, better nutrition, healthier population, less disease, and a better environment. That alone is a reason to do this. But there's more. We get more balanced ecosystem, less soil, water, and air pollution, building topsoil instead of depleting it. Those alone would be a reason for doing this. But we also get less demand on freshwater lakes, streams, and aquifers. We are going to be sequestering massive amounts of atmospheric carbon dioxide and reversing farming's environmental impact on land, sea, and air. Land, air, and sea. Now, if you don't think that farming has an impact on the oceans, you need to do a little bit more research on this. The chemicals that they use, especially the nitrogen fertilizers, cause algae blooms that deplete the water of oxygen, and fish die, and then the erosion of topsoil silts up the rivers. So fish die. It turns a ecologically balanced river, and it sterilizes it and ruins it. And that goes out to the oceans, and you get these big algae blooms disrupting the ocean, the ecology of the ocean. But the biggest reason to do this, and the reason that this affects everyone on the planet, is this will help to slow the ongoing Anthropocene extinction event. And if you don't know what that is, you need to read about it. Anthropocene is the human epoch. And so this is where humans are affecting the environment of the earth so much that they are changing the environment. And it is causing the sixth mass extinction that the earth has been through. And the scientists know that the current rate of species going extinct on this planet is somewhere between 100 and 1,000 times the normal background rate of extinction. Now, we have a very bright future coming. It's going to be amazing, with unlimited amounts of energy and unlimited amounts of labor being able to be done by robots. We have an amazing future coming, and we're all going to be living to very old ages. But we have a couple of decades here that we have to get through first before we can come out and have this amazing future, and we will develop technologies to overcome all of these problems. So this Anthropocene extinction event can be stopped in its tracks, but we have to get through the next 10 or 20 years, and we need to slow this down, and Freedom Farms is the way to do this. I'm sorry. This is really one of the... Puerto Rico has these tax advantages, and it's one of the only places that has this 20 to 30% higher competition because of the Jones Act. That specific law is what created this opportunity. And then there's this one spot, Freedom Farms, way up at the top of Puerto Rico, where we can grow these different crops that allow us to compete in this area where our competition is handicapped by 20 to 30%. So the pay for this, the base salary, the starting salary, is $72,000 a year. It's $6,000 a month. I'm looking for somebody that's really committed, and you start making these profitable, and this is all performance based. So you could double this basically. It's going to be in the form of bonuses, not salary increases. And you know, one thing I've noticed after many years of being in business is when people compare themselves to other people always. They don't look and say, oh, well, I'm getting paid this, my life is great. Oh, well, other people are getting paid this, I'm getting paid. You know, I used to give away titles that would flatter somebody and give them a title that was actually higher than the function that they were doing. They'd go online and look up how much this type of person gets paid, and they go, oh, he's cheating me. And then they would say something about it, and I'd say, but, you know, look at the bonuses we gave you. You got paid twice as much as your salary last year. You got way over what you're asking for last year. Sure, I can give you this, but I'm going to take away your bonuses. So people don't include bonuses. So if you do this, you have to keep track of what you're actually getting paid, not what your salary is. And you will be compensated well for what you're doing, but I'm looking for top-notch people. There is a possibility, you know, if you're good enough and committed enough, you could own a piece of this so that you become more of a partner, a piece of the things that where I don't have already a whole bunch of other partners in it. And so If you're interested, if you're one of the few that wants to take on a big challenge, change the world, and make everybody's life better, send a resume and the reason you want to do this to submissions@goldsilver.com. So the next video is going to be a tour of Freedom Farm's 900 magical acres that is virtually heaven on earth. We'll see you there.